Wanna give me a sound off real quick if you guys are even alive?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So we'll go in order. All right, so this is the first one. It's a character portfolio. Yeah, I think this is on you, Lewis. You want to just lead us into it?
Yeah, is Emily here?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
No, I just have a question. Like, you said that you into character design, but like, do you know what specifically for?
You mean what kind of studios?
Yeah, studios or projects, anything like more specific.
Yeah, like I would like to go into like more on the realistic side maybe, so projects like the Arcane Studio projects or maybe the Ubisoft project, stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, looking at your stuff, I feel like wait, so let me just open it again.
Yeah, can you
Yeah, no, I
post
feel
the link to the chat, James?
Yeah, no problem.
Don't have to look it up.
It's in Classroom Chat already. Just check it out. This one.
Is it? Oh, shit. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, go on, Lewis.
Yeah, no, I feel like there's mostly good things, and that's like, and that's good because I feel like you do have a good like hold of like structure and like form. Like I feel like I can see the proportions, but I feel like there's just like a bit of like lacking gesture in your characters. But that's not really much of like a concern for concept art stuff. I mean, I see all the production stuff there. Like I see turnarounds, I see that kind of stuff. Like call outs, the materials and all that stuff. Like I feel like that's kind of great. But I think a lot of it rendering is like the main thing that's kind of like holding you back. Because if you're trying to do realistic stuff, the kind of painting style you're trying to do is definitely like simplifies your forms, and like it's just like it feels too struggled. Like I don't know if it was because it was done too quickly or like you're just trying to like just have it painted without like any like photo bashing or anything like that. It is it is there a reason why you paint your stuff in that kind of way if you're trying to do like realistic stuff?
So one of my biggest inspirations is the arcane style. So
Yeah.
people like Cedric or Sergey who do a lot of painting. Like Sergey Kolosov. And but yeah, I'm not stretched for time, so I'm guessing it's probably a lack of skill, and I'm not using any photo bashing.
Okay. Yeah, no, because I feel like I feel like you do show structure and like form with your painting, and like there's certain good moments, like the gangster Art Deco guy. I feel like he's one of your stronger ones in terms of like design, like painting. Though it's like, he's still pretty simple, but I feel like material wise, I think you could definitely like strengthen up a bit, like showing like the creases and like the type of textures that they has, like he has on his like jacket and all that stuff, the glass and his hands, the tattoos and the form of his face. Like I feel like you can definitely like try to like put a little bit more like not necessarily information, but just kind of like gesture out the material itself, like the other artists you mentioned. And besides that, I feel like for like your presentation itself, like your Mistborn character, first one. Like I think everything that you have is kind of good there, like in terms of like utility, except for like maybe a couple things, like the level page where you kind of have like the first level to like last level. I would like to see like more duration in that. I think it's a bit more lower. I think it's more lower. Like in terms of ideation and stuff like that, that's also great to see. No, I think it might be higher. Sorry. Yeah,
This
but the
page, right?
shot of like the character level up? No, is it? I think it might have been removed, or maybe it's the next one. I'm sorry, next character.
Next
The Red
character?
Hood one.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, like, but the ideation stuff and iteration stuff is really good, pretty solid. But like right there, like the level progression stuff, like if you're gonna do something like that, like and have it like be like useful for concept art, I would want to have like more iteration than that because it just feels like it's like a instant transformation, and to me, it doesn't feel like that drastic. Like it doesn't feel like there's been much like actually like changing the design itself. It's almost like very similar. Like he's like taking off certain things. That's about it. And then other than that, I think the presentation at the bottom, like all the way at the bottom, like where you have like all your references and stuff like that, it feels very like redundant. Because like he on the left one, I guess the first one mostly. because you're showing like all your references and like the original like kind of idea and story you had for this character, but it almost like makes up like half of your portfolio. And I feel like that's something you can include alongside your designs to just show like the material callouts themselves. I feel like that'd be a lot more efficient and like yeah, because otherwise like by the time I'm done scrolling, half of your post is just images and like text.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's mainly the main thing. Just kind of um just kind of work more on like gesture, maybe more like on faces and that kind of stuff. Work on your rendering more to kind of make it match the artist that you're trying to like, be more like. Kind of, try to like further focus your art to be more like that. Um,
Have you started to explore like how you can try to integrate a little bit more of like 3D or photo bashing in your work? Because if you're going for like something that's realistic,
Mhm.
that can save you like a lot of time. So like always rendering out the materials, right?
Yeah, I think like the reason why I stick to painting is because I actually enjoy it a lot. So I think I would just like to do that and get better at that.
Mhm.
If that makes
There's no
sense.
like you can also adjust your ratios, right? It's like maybe like 10% photo bashing and the rest would be like painting, right? But it's just like to have like a solid, some solid texturing in there like quickly, because like in the industry you're always gonna have to, make those shortcuts to deliver stuff on time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can still make it your own, right? We got artists like what's his name? Richard Lyons, right? Who's worked on a lot of like realistic projects like The Last of Us and everything. But his stuff looks like he doesn't add a lot of textures or rendering in it, but it's
Yeah.
still very clear and you can really understand like how um the folds in the clothing work, right? Everything is super clear for like when he sends this like to the 3D people, right? They know instantly, you know, how everything is supposed to look. So even if you're trying to go to like to work on a realistic project, I don't think you need to constrain yourself too much on the realistic, quote unquote style. But it's a matter of finding ways to get accuracy like quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that this guy, he uses a lot of photo reference and he traces a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, finding that workflow that gets you to like an accuracy level that's like high enough, right? Doesn't mean that you always need to have it like super realistic, right? You don't need to paint it realistically, but just like at least the proportions and everything.
So could you maybe reiterate what the main problem is with the rendering right now, just to make it clear?
Yeah. So for example, if we look at Mistborn, um,
Mm-hmm.
like there's nothing wrong overall with the general shapes, but like I think the folds and like for example like the pants could be a little bit, a little bit better. Um, and this is like a little bit of nitpicking.
Mhm.
Some of the like the detailing that you have like on the belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of those proportions sometimes I feel like if I squint my eyes a little bit, it gets a little bit cluttered and I lose a lot of detail. So it's missing just like a little bit more clarity, right? It's not missing much. I think your portfolio is pretty solid. I'm gonna reinforce what Lewis said about like having that thought process laid out is really good as well. But you could explore a little bit more of like how you can integrate those little shortcuts in your workflow, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Is-
Eddie, do you have anything to
Moving
add on
back
top of
here.
that?
What was this Kolosov guy? Can you go back to him?
Yeah, no problem. I put his link in the chat as well. It was Sergey Kolosov, this guy.
Ah, Sergey Kolosov. Yeah, so I think it's if you take a bit look at his pieces, it's like he's presenting his characters in such a nice graphic way that it's you might wanna try to add that to your paintings as well. Like he has such a nice distribution of details between, like, for instance, he has the pants. It's like super flat, and he has like a big part. It takes up a big part of the character, so he's got like a big medium small ratio in the whole detail distribution on the characters. So it's your paintings. They look kind of like you filled it up with detail all the way.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to distribute your details into like certain specific areas where like putting emphasis into your characters. I mean, I'm not a character. I'm not a character designer. It's just like purely looking at these abstract shapes.
Yeah, the principles are the same though. Whether
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
doing
yeah.
props, environments,
Mhm.
or characters,
Yeah,
the detailing rule is still the same.
All right, solid. I hope that was helpful. All right, we got to be a little bit quicker. So I'm just going to read out what they wrote. And guys, if you already submitted something in the review channel and you're up for review, could you just like edit your comment and just write the question in there so that there's not so much of a back and forth? Otherwise, we'll only have like 5 people in here, if that's okay. I put the next one up there. Quickly scroll up to it real quick.
Yeah, thank you
So,
very much, though.
yeah, no problem. So this is How. He says, I'm How, 17. I freelance and work as a character designer for games. I have not received any traditional education, but I handed this portfolio in for universities. So if anybody has any feedback, I'd be super appreciative. Thank you. Okay. We're this
I
link
can,
over here.
Yeah,
I
think
can
Tom
start with
open
this
it.
one,
Yeah,
James.
go on, man.
Because I I sneakily like looked at it. Okay,
Yeah.
so first thing, right, is I hate how this is like laid out, just like the portfolio itself, because like you're not showing anything like uh you're not showing art, right, on the first click. I went through the trouble of like looking at your art, and some of it is pretty solid. It's pretty good. Um, but my main comments would be a lot of it seems a little bit inconsistent. You got like some really good stuff in the. This is gonna be a hassle, but or like James try to find what I'm
Yeah,
talking
go
about.
on.
So wait, James, just go on home.
Yep.
Just go on home. Yeah. So if you scroll all the way down, and you look at like the 2 last pieces, you can like open those up in like a tab.
Oh yeah, these ones.
Yeah, Geba and Julie. Yeah. Like I think the art's pretty solid, right? My only like big complaint is just like the way that everything's laid out. Like, why is this like not on like a full page? Stuff like that. The process is also interesting to see. But when I'm talking about like consistency, is if you go back on the main portfolio page, James, yeah, and then you scroll up. Wait, scroll down. Go to the, I think it was the Valentino character.
Yep.
Yeah, some of like your, and I'm pretty sure you did like this project on like a long time frame, right? So you had like a lot of improvements in between like the characters that you're trying to do as a lineup, right? But I feel like in your portfolio, you should try to always cut the stuff that's not relevant anymore, like that relates to your skill set, right? And always try to just show like the best stuff that you have, right? Um, I'm specifically talking about like the final render, James. Can you?
Yep.
The one at the bottom of the page, and when you go scroll the way down,
This one. Yep.
yeah, there's just like something that feels a little bit unfinished about this piece compared to the other one, and to me, it's like it's very noticeable, right? I guess another thing, right? Like while we're at it, is the way that like I'm having James navigate through the portfolio is like very tedious, and it's very like non-conducive to like just enjoying your art in general. Those are like my general comments about this, but I've seen a lot of stuff in your portfolio that I like. It's just like a shame that it's not like showcased in the forefront.
Yeah, just about in a small bit here, but we talked about this in the previous review. Every click you can save somebody from having to do in order to access your work, you're making a huge market increase in your hireability, because people might be going through hundreds, if not like thousands of portfolios in any one group of time when they're hiring. So you don't make it harder for people to be able to see it's hard enough to get a job as it is. So don't add in artificial obstacles. Lucy, you want to throw in here?
Yeah, no, I pretty much have the same feelings about the website. I'm trying to look through the stuff. It's really hard. I think your Instagram or Behance made it a little bit easier, but it doesn't really have all the work that you have on your website, which is a little sad. But
It-
I, yeah, Eddie.
Even when you have like an art station and you have like categories split up, it's such a pain in the ass. If you click on
Mhm.
one and you exit it,
Yeah,
and you have to click on the category again, it's like it's annoying.
I agree.
All right, man.
But the art is solid. I think just like keep working on your fundamentals. A lot of like the gesturing in a few pieces I really like.
Mm.
But yeah, I think for you it's a matter of like really arranging your presentation, showing like the best work in the forefront. Yeah, that's about it for me.
Yeah. Super agree. I think just like call the things that are not super relevant right now to your skill set and make it way easier for people to realize how good you actually are. Because like right now this is just a website with no art on it. So be very careful with that. But yeah, good luck, man. Hopefully that was useful. Next up.
We didn't even check if the person was here.
No. They can always watch the recording. Don't worry about it. That's why we're recording in the first place. All good.
Gotcha.
All right. Next up is Ren. I'll read what they wrote real quick. Back to it in a second. All right. Ren says, everyone, Ren, I'm currently working as a freelance illustrator. My long-term goal is to get more serious work as a fantasy illustrator for cards, games, and books. I'd appreciate any feedback I could get on my portfolio. Let me
Okay, so
I'll
I
shoot
don't
this one to
even.
Eddie.
Yeah, I'll take this one. I don't even think you need to click on any of this because like they all read the same. Even if you click on it, they kind of look like a Pinterest feed. You know, they feel a bit like you copied. I mean, you looked at references which were crazy filtered out and like not really. I mean, I understand that it's a fantasy illustration, but like they still kind of feel a bit like they just have a bunch of filters on it. And they also, I would suggest you to kind of try to push a little bit more depth into your pieces because they're all super flat. They it's a, and they kind of this album cover feel. It's like it's okay to a certain degree, but like maybe you could focus a bit more on like the general graphic read of the images and try to push a little bit more big, medium, small into your thumbnails. That way it will be a bit more clickbaity and more appealing image. It's yeah, like it's 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 a bit flat to me. I would like to see like overlaps. Overlaps help to introduce depth into the depth into the paintings and value differences. And yeah, that's all there is to it. The first one, I don't even really know what that one is. It looks like looks a bit abstract to me. Couldn't really say much else. I mean, maybe you could try introducing photo textures into your paintings, and I would suggest to before you start doing a piece, plan it out. Maybe do a couple thumbnails for it, and proceed from there.
Eddie, do you have a good example of somebody that you might want to like refer them to in terms of like the work should maybe you could learn from somebody like this? Anybody come to mind?
Oh man, illustration. Yeah, the first guy comes into my mind. I believe Adam Duff did some Gwent illustrations.
Can you check it out?
I think it kind of yeah. I mean, these are kind of abstract and dark at some places as well, but they have super nice graphic read. Like the whole composition of the images is like absolutely perfect.
I can try to
And
add something as well, even though I'm not an illustrator. th- when Eddie said that like everything feels kind of like Pinteresty, right? I feel like everything in his portfolio kind of looks just like static and symmetric, right? There's not a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
like dynamism,
yeah,
I mean dynamic shapes or lines
agreed.
that's like leading my eye, and everything just feels very balanced and very like symmetric, and all the pieces are like that. So that's why I think it adds even more to that effect of like they kind of like all look like the same composition.
Right.
So I'm reinforcing what Eddie said about trying to thumbnail trying to vary your compositions, try to study, you know, compositions of like people that you like, right? So yeah, that was just my 2 cents on what Ede said.
Yeah, have some role models in terms of like illustrators and try to not straight up steal, but like, you know, get some inspiration from their composition. You can like interpret person's paintings composition into a completely new theme, and like you have something in your mind, and just take the composition and do the painting in a proper composition.
I would look at Eitan Zana,
Oh,
because
yeah.
one of the things that I noticed in your work is there's a lot of like just opposing small people with like humongous stuff, right? And I think Eitan Zana does it in a really interesting way. He has like different compositions, even though it's almost always the same subject, like one small little character with like one colossal, you know, yeah, there you go, that one, for example.
But to be fair, he's not really an illustrator.
Fair enough, fair enough.
But I think it applies. Like in terms of composition, it certainly applies. This guy is a god at composition.
Anything to add to the back end of that, Lewis?
Not really.
Alright, solid. Alright, let's keep the ball rolling. After Ren, we have Zyphor. It says, hi, I'm Cyprian, artist from Canada, currently looking for concept artwork. My main goal at the moment is to get a job to gain some professional experience to put on my resume. I love feedback to see what is lacking or weak in my portfolio that I could improve or add on as I look for jobs. I'll put the link for you guys as well in the chat. There you go.
It's environment.
Yep, it's an environment guy. You want to lead us in?
Yeah, let's start with the first one because I think that's the most relevant. I mean, first off, the characters. I mean, could you go back?
Yeah, no problem.
Yes, sir. If he wants to be an environment artist, like the characters, I'm not really sure. I mean, it's okay, but like, you know, if I would say just have some in the beginning, just have one specialization, and after you kind of feel comfortable in it, you can, you know, you already got a job, you can branch out to different areas like characters, because I mean they don't, yeah. I mean I can give feedback to these, but let's start with the environments then.
Yeah, no problem.
Right. So I actually checked out this one, and it's like a proper hold on, let me get the link.
Yep.
It's a pretty nice exploration, and you had everything broken down in like a super FZD way, right? And like the props are presented too, and pretty nice. The first image though, I would say, would be the one which would kind of sell your project. So you kind of shoot yourself in the foot with not really exploring eye candy image. So this one has like compositional issues, I would say. You could have you could have um, you could have incorporated a bit more consistent. I mean, not consistent, bit more dynamic lighting into the scene, or you could have added a bit more story elements like people to make the. I mean, do they have people? I think they have one over there, but no, I don't see any. You know, adding a little bit of story to your environment makes it feel alive. And also, if you already have like the 3D, like why not just do a couple more shots? I saw, if you scroll down a little bit, James, I saw some thumbnail explorations.
Yep.
Or I'm not sure what those were. Okay, so about these, it's like super little change between them. It's like 5 mm change in the lens of the camera. That's the waste of render. It's I would just make sure you kind of try to explore a bit more different ideas. It's like you change 1 millimeter into the composition. That's not gonna inspire anyone, not even you. I mean, you know, you're not gonna have new input. Other than that, looks like you're kind of going for the. I mean, I can't really tell. That's the thing. It's kind of FZD and kind of trying to be photoreal, but I can't really tell because it has some photo textures in it, a lot of brush strokes, hazy, and all that. I would decide to go for either like stylized or a photorealistic approach and then just try to push that because right now it kind of stands in between. Just have a nice reference. I think Pablo Caprio has some Western paintings. I'm not sure.
How do you spell his last name?
James, can you just restream quickly so I can restream your stream?
Oh, yeah, no problem. All right, guys, 1 second.
I'll check Pablo Caprio until then because I'm not sure. I remember he's got a couple. Or Caprio. I don't know how Caprio. Yeah.
RPO.
Yeah.
Yeah, got him.
He's got a couple.
Hi,
Vest.
everyone.
Yeah, you could just take those and take it as base or like kind of goal in terms of composition. I think I mean you have like a whole ass train too. Like you could have done if you already have the 3D, why not go out of your way and just do a couple eye candy key shots with it? They will sell the whole project.
Nice.
Yeah, that would be it, I think. I mean, hold on, one more thing.
Yeah, no problem.
In terms of like environment design, I would also add, I saw a bunch of people not really doing this. It's like what you're doing is this Last of Us kind of approach, where you just download a bunch of assets from Sketchfab and Quixel and just add it to your scene. Except the train. The train looks nice. It's nicely designed and like something new. It's something different. But what I would do, that's a vehicle, right? Like you want to become an environment concept artist. So it's like I would say try to come up with a consistent design language and come up with a project and show the people that you know how to keep a consistent design language and that you can come up with something new and keep it consistent, right? I don't know. Did that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. So don't recycle assets if you want to like get the higher level jobs because they want you to make something new for a production, not just remixes.
Nice, James speaks.
You have anything to add, Liz or Tom?
I think maybe on the latest piece, the
Yep.
environment latest piece. I think yeah, reinforcing what Eddie said, like it's a little bit hard to read. I think I don't know if it's like a problem with the values, but like there's no like there's nothing leading my eye in this image, I'd say. Like everything just kind of looks like a big block, and I think if you go back to like Pablo Carpio, the artist that Eddie was talking about, yeah, I think his values are a little bit more contrasty, and there's like a clear direction of like what you should be looking at, where your eyes should be moving, right? So integrate more of that, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I can only really say stuff about the character, and I know if you're trying to do environment stuff, I'd probably just say remove it as well if that's not the thing you're trying to do for work. It definitely, if you're trying to like lean more towards environment stuff, I'd definitely just put more your effort in that. But for your character, it's kind of like the same comments I've made before, where like there's a structure there. I feel like it's lacking some sort of like gesture, and I feel like the render just feels like it feels very struggled. Something like Eddie said, where it feels like it's all like equally like detailed. And I mean, you don't have it clicked right now, but if you scroll down to see like the thumbnails that I'd done originally, I feel like the design was way more fleshed out in the actual like concepting phase. But when you actually finished it, you kind of lost a lot of that kind of like character you had originally. But yeah, that's only if you're trying to do more character stuff. But I would say you should do it definitely. Apply your environment critiques.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it.
All right, you guys ready to keep moving?
Yep.
All right, cool. Next one is this one, the Tumblr link. I'm just gonna put it in the chat for you. Okay, attachment here says, hi, I am Grisel, freelance illustrator, been drawing for fun for quite the time, and I think I'm ready to try more professional works like comic covers, books, cards, or poster designs, and I'm currently taking commissions for supporters. They also like character design, and they're trying to find a personal touch when it comes to coloring. Okay, that's the write-up. Well, illustration and character design, I guess, is what I gleaned from that, and also like just posters.
Yeah,
That's
just
a
give me a
whole
sec.
lot of anime.
I'm not sure if as like game content artists we're the best roster to submit this kind of work. I guess we'll just give you like a once over impression, and that's the best we can do for right now. But I will try to get more people that do this kind of work for you to get like more accurate critiques. And also I think everybody should just know that like everybody's going to critique things from their own experiences and from the jobs that we work. So if you feel like we're prioritizing something that you're not, just don't take it too personally, because you can only crit what you know. But do you guys have any once-overs on this?
No, sir. Rather not
Work
so much.
keep working on those fundies. Yeah, you could push a lot more shapes. You could exaggerate a lot more stuff. Some, I don't know. Look at that. Okay, so if you click at like that samurai fox in the middle,
Samurai Fox, this one. Got it.
that one. Yeah, let's say we critique that thing, right?
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, a lot of the fabric doesn't feel structured to me. You could push that shoulder plate for like a more exaggerated silhouette. Help me out, Lewis.
I mean, yeah. I mean, same things, but I'm just trying to think. I'm sorry, because like you're trying to do illustration stuff, and you mentioned character design, but I feel like nothing here necessarily screams character design to me, because like it's commission stuff, so like I'm assuming it's already a pre-existing character, and like a lot of the stuff that you have here is mostly fan art, from what I can tell. I can't really see anything that's like super original or like super like presented in a way that it's like this is concept art or character design, whether it's like more towards viz dev or game stuff or whatever. Like I feel like you can definitely present more unique designs if that's something you want to go towards. But if illustration, fan art, and like doing commission stuff, like having like a fan base, like social media art, um, I think there's definitely like like just kind of keep improving your skills and doing more of this kind of stuff. But I can't. I don't know. I don't know. There's much I can really say in terms of like character design. Besides that,
Yeah, sounds fair to me. All right, we can just keep the ball rolling. Next up is Pratik. Okay, put him in the chat. He says, hello, I'm a concept artist. My short-term goal is working to make professional industry-level character design and flesh out more towards keyframes and storytelling illustrations in the future. Whether through semi-realistic fantasy characters for companies like Riot Games, Atomok, and West Studios, or Rengoku Legends. Isn't that what you worked on, Lewis?
yes.
I would really appreciate some advice and guidance on how to improve and what I am lacking with my current art and some best practices moving forward. All right, I'll put the link for you guys as well in the classroom chat. Since he wants to work where you worked, Lewis, do you have any first thoughts about his portfolio?
Well, I mean, I feel like the first thing is like a little contradictory. If you go to the all, oh wait, I think it's been edited now. I think before you had like the if you go to the all,
Yep.
James, you had the shot with the ladies there. That's like the more realistic shot in the front before, but you kind of moved it back down. But I mean, I feel like if you're trying to do more, could you read the thing again? They're trying to do more what now in the future?
They want to go into keyframe and storytelling illustration, but their primary goal is realistic or semi-realistic fantasy character.
Okay, all right, okay. I thought they're trying to go more for that. If you're trying to go more for that, I would just say just kind of go for it and like leave the character stuff behind if that's what you want to do in the future. But if you're trying to just do character stuff now, I feel like the main thing that I could probably just say is just can you open his main one, his first shot, his first posting?
No problem.
Definitely working on like doing more utility stuff, because like I feel like you just have a lot of your characters facing forward, like just they're all kind of just facing forward and like have like very similar kind of like finish to them, and you do have some ideation and iteration, but to me like a lot of the ideation doesn't feel super duper different to me, and like here's just color variants. I feel like you can definitely have more 3/4 fronts, 3/4 backs, orthographics, all that kind of stuff. I think that would be a lot more useful. And I feel like maybe doing a bit more research into like actual like cultural like clothing and that kind of stuff, because I feel like a lot of stuff that you do is like just kind of done somewhat from imagination and maybe a little bit of reference. But I feel like if you're trying to do something that's like fantastical, I think looking at the actual like cultures that you're trying to like reference from is it's very useful, because otherwise it doesn't feel as believable. And can you go back to his other posts?
Yep, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, like a lot of these characters, for example, that lion one there. Like it's almost to the point where it's like almost just illustrative, because like you only have one thing. Can you scroll down and see the stuff they have? Yeah, like here you have some things, but like it all just feels like one-offs. And with concept art, it's not just just doing like one drawing or doing one piece or doing one painting. Doing concept art is like actually breaking down the design itself and like showing like how it works. Turning it around. Breaking down specific things about it, like making sure it makes sense specifically for 3D artists. I don't know if you've done much 3D work before, or like seen people do too much 3D stuff, but like you have to like keep them in mind. Because if you're trying to model something like this, you would want to see what he looks like from the side, what he looks like from the front, like what does his pants work. How does that like wrench look like sideways? How does it close? How does it open? Like where are the things that have to like actually like model? And the same thing goes with like everyone else in the team. But like you have to consider all these kind of things together. And like I would just say, if you want to do more character concept art, I would just say just do more crazier iteration and ideation stuff. Like do very different things, because like a lot of the stuff feels very similar. A shirtless buff guy facing forward, but do more concept arty quote unquote things. But like I don't know if I can say much besides that. But yeah, just 3/4 back views, orthographics, all that kind of stuff. Breakdown. Just try to make sure you break down things.
Mm-hmm. Tom or Eddie, anything to add on top of that?
Yeah, I
No,
would
so
say literally just go look at like good portfolios of like people that are already working, and just like literally copy these pages. Copy like how they explain stuff, copy how they do their layouts, copy also like how much variations they have in the shapes while they're doing like silhouette breakdowns and stuff like that, right? Because again, like what Lewis said, is when you're doing concept art, you really want to explore a lot of things. You want to explore you kind of like want to go as far as possible, right? As broad as possible, sorry, to then like explain to your art director why you choose like a certain shape, right? Or why you made a certain decisions. Because in concept art, I feel like it's almost never about making good art. It's about like producing good ideas, right? And so if we don't see that you explored all that you can explore, it's not really concept art to me.
Yeah, exactly. James, can you click on my profile real quick? Because like I have like a private post. It's not really private, but go my art station there. Yeah, and click on my website link in the middle top. Yeah, it shows a little bit more like actual behind the scenes stuff, like thumbnails. In the first one, it's not loaded for you there, but it's the first one. There you go. Yeah, it has more like actual behind the scenes stuff, like there's like the art test stuff I did, and you just scroll down like the actual like thumbnails and exploration stuff that I did, where I did a bit more stuff. But usually we had a very like focused prompt, so like a lot of the stuff is like very focused to like what it already was. But it's only like half of the stuff that I actually had. Like I had a lot more that kind of lost. Wait, sorry, give me a second.
No problem.
But yeah, I would just say like if you're trying to do concept art stuff and you don't have like actual like experience yet, I would definitely show more breakdowns and like thumbnails and like exploration stuff, like because like I feel like a lot of concept artists, or like people who are trying to be concept artists, get like misleaded because they see all the finished stuff and they don't see like the actual like behind the scenes stuff. They don't see like thumbnails and like breakdowns, iteration, ideation, and they just like do like a finished piece and like some thumbnails and like yeah, like I did concept art, but there's definitely a lot more to it than just that. And but yeah, it's just breaking down, making sense out of things, showing it how it works all around, just really going as much as possible to like really explore an idea and like solve it. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Lewis, you fine with me putting this link in the chat?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think the problem solving aspect of what Lewis just said is like super important. It's yeah, I totally agree with him.
Yeah. And just to add on, like most times companies not going to trust like a new guy that's never worked a job before to design like the coolest stuff. That's usually going to go to your seniors or your art director or your lead. But the stuff that actually makes the game run, the direct communication with the 3D artists, the people that are making the actual game assets, that requires a lot of clarity and like a lot of like precision. And I feel like don't get too lost in just like the illustrator side, just like Lewis was saying. Like try to aid the production, and you will get hired by the production. All right, but hopefully that was useful, man. Keep going. Ball rolling. I think next up is edit territory. I think it's keyframing.
Let's go.
All right.
Some
This is Ash. Oh, there's sup guys. My name is Ash, and I'm an illustrator based in Atlanta. I currently focus on specializing within keyframe cinematic illustration for pre-production work in live action, film, and games. Would appreciate any feedback regarding the overall narrative themes, composition, or anything else that you think might help. That as well.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, I would maybe put a couple more projects. I mean, as a broad look at your portfolio, I would put a couple more keyframe projects into your portfolio. And it's a little bit. I mean, overall, you got like 4 in total, right? Like 4 keyframes. And I would also do some keyframe studies. Like you could just to be a bit more cinematic, you could for instance take some of these super cinematic movies, like for instance Blade Runner, and just straight up take some screenshots and copy them. Those really help to get a feeling of how to convey mood and like proper composition and super cinematic feeling. And just straight up do like value studies, or just straight up copy them, like or just with value, just with black and white. If you go back to the portfolio,
Yep.
Overall the paintings feel a bit too 2D for me. If you're doing keyframes, I believe, I mean, hold on, keyframe shell. Yeah, I would try to keep it a bit more moody. These look a little bit like you can't really decide if you're photo bashing it or painting it. Like this one is super 3D. It's I would really replace, for instance, the 3D mountains. They don't really look. I mean, they just look 3D. Yeah, and they don't really have like a proper um proper composition to it. Like take for instance a couple examples from I think Pablo has some super nice spaceship shots wherever where you're pretty much showing off the spaceship in that shot. And if you let me see, yeah, some search one of the which where the one of the spaceships is flying. I think he's got like a personal project. Yeah, on the left. Yeah, those. Yeah. Like he's not really focusing too much on the background, but it's still there. Like it's not all 3D. He's still photo bashing in there, and it's super dynamic and obviously displaying the design of the spaceship and it's still keyframing. It's like focusing on the design and the composition in the same time, because he spent the time, did the design super nicely, and then he can just play around and do some keyframes with it. So if you already have like a nice 3D base, you can just try to come up with different camera angles and just mess around. Just look up some movies which you like, and try to straight up take some shots and recreate. Like this is super nice. If you go back, like this like 1/3 of the image is in light and 2/3 in shadow. Like this kind of separation in values and in big, medium, small, you know, these fundamentals try to reinforce them into your pieces as well. Can we go back to the portfolio?
Problem.
And the point of the keyframes is to tell a story, right? Like keyframing. Maybe you could come up with some sort of storyline with your paintings, and yeah, right, like here, like that red one. I think there was something going on, but it's not really clear what exactly, right? Like maybe try to be a little bit more clear about the whole display of your storyline, because maybe they are not in order. I can't really tell what's happening in the whole project.
Yeah, to add to what Ede said, especially if you're looking to do keyframing, again, yeah, storytelling is like number one. The number one thing that you should really study and look at. I'd recommend like looking into framed ink for like composition and storytelling stuff. And in terms of movie, like just like watch all like the movies that are cinematographed by Roger Deakins. I think like he has like one of the best visuals for storytelling in cinema right now. And yeah, also what Ede said about like just literally picking keyframes, try to study them, analyze what makes them work well. You know, understanding what kind of camera angle is, you know, well better suited for what type of scene that you're trying to show. Because I feel like a lot of your, for example, if we were looking at that project specifically, right? For example, the shot where they're all like around this character, right, holding their guns, it feels a little bit static. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to feel here, right? Well, you could really try to learn how to push a certain emotion or a certain atmosphere with like your camera angles, right?
And the position of the characters as well. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, you might want to take the eye level of the victim to be a bit more immersive to the shot, or like the eye level of the guy. Like you could do. I mean, you got some raw renders down there. If you go a little bit, you could have done like instead of raw renders, having some black and white material-less renders. You know, just to see how it would look like in values. I mean, it's super easy to check in Blender. You put it in shadow mode and see how the graphic read looks like. It's very important to have a super clear graphic read about your story. Like you wanna be absolutely clear what's going on, and like you wanna communicate the story super easily and very clearly with the viewer. Like you look at it and you understand. In this image, if you go back, go a little bit up, it's like the values are not that one, the car with the cars. The values are kind of all over, and everything is kind of flat, and you don't really have too much like foreground, midground, background separation. You know, all those fundamentals.
Yeah.
Also, I wouldn't hesitate on jumping back and forth between 2D and 3D. I think not a lot of artists like do that enough. Like I feel like when you're like a student, it's like a very rigid kind of thing where okay, you know, you start in 2D and then you end your image in 3D, whatever, right? But like if you scroll down, James, and you look at like those keyframes, like you could like take those keyframes, right, and work them a little bit more in Photoshop again to like what Ede said, just like make sure that your values are correct, right? And that's gonna inform a lot of like the decisions later on while you're working your lighting in 3D, right? Because you also like need to be accurate about this stuff.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense. Well, I hope that was helpful. Luis, you want to throw anything on the back end of that?
No.
All right, cool. Let's keep the ball rolling. All right, next up is Wen. She says, I'm a product design student from Michigan. I want to eventually work in either game or film one day. I would appreciate any feedback and advice on direction and what other works I should try to include in my portfolio. Okay, I'm going to put the link as always in the chat. Yep. So
Oh man, another ArtStation list.
so it's a website.
I don't know why, but I always like personal websites. I'm a little bit not at home, you know.
That's fine. Okay, so they're product design student and they want to get into game or film. It doesn't specify a position, but I'm going to assume it's a design role. Tom, you have any notes as a former like designer, like a product designer?
I spoke a little bit to Wen already about this. I could just like reiterate my points really quickly.
Yep.
Just like number one, presentation overall is pretty good. I feel like everything I need to like understand is very clear. I like your layout, you know. If I'm nitpicky about it, like really nitpicky about it, like I would try to keep everything like on a grid and align my text properly to like the images, right? But that's just like again like nitpicking.
Nitpicking.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you go back to the boat, one of the comments that I told when was you can really like try to push your shapes, especially in concepts. Again, like going back to that idea of like trying to explore, you know, all the possibilities for like the shape of a specific concept. Going back to what I just said, again, working between 2D and 3D, right? So that like your workflow is a bit more organic and you're not confined to be stuck with like the 3D skills that you have, right? Because everything feels very blocky for the design of the boat when, you know, you could have alternated, you know, have like a 3D base, try to rework some of the lines in 2D and then bring it back in 3D to try to solve it, right? That
Whenever
was
you're
pretty much.
Sorry. No,
Go
go
ahead,
on.
Eddie. No, I'm pretty much done.
I was just about to say a little bit about this iterating. Whenever you're trying to come up with new variations, make sure you go to all extremes. Like for instance, you want to try out how the boat would look like if it would be like 2 times as tall. Just, you know, you're in 3D, you just extend it, and there you go, another revision. You could see if it works or not, or just half the length or stuff like that. Because right now in your iterations, all I see is like you move a block in the front, and like, you know, just very minor and inconsistent changes. So just try different extremes whenever coming up with the main shape of the ship.
Yep. I'll throw in a little bit from the proper design perspective. Again, I feel like things like this chair are way more comfortable and like believable than the final result of the vehicle itself. So just gonna reiterate what Tom was saying about a lot of the times perspective is hard enough. Drawing a vehicle from reference is hard enough. Designing a vehicle, no matter what your past is, it's always going to be an endeavor. So don't be afraid of like just directly stealing shapes or just looking very closely at existing examples. It doesn't even have to be of a hovercraft literally, but it could be of like a sports car or something just like very it has very strong kind of product design shapes, and utilize that for your final, because modern day stuff especially, it doesn't look boxy. Like we have access to far too many advanced like manufacturing methods, and it leads to some very advanced, almost sleekish shapes in every industry. So it would be good to just try to incorporate a little bit of that as well.
It needs to be a little bit more aerodynamic, right?
Yeah, I would expect so. Anything to add on, Lewis? Hey, go on.
There's also like a little thing where like you chose to make something that's like very complex, right? You chose like a very complex subject, right? And I feel like one of the design critiques that I would have for this is I don't see enough of what you're trying to solve into the design, right? So this is supposed to be like a paramedic boat, right? But aside from like the open area where, you know, you can lay that person in the middle, right? Is there like some sort of like harness system that you can add like on the sides for like the paramedics to like safely, you know, operate while they're, you know, on the boat,
body.
right? Like referencing actual like ambulances or like medical gear inside a similar type of vehicle, right, could really up that realism. Because when you're tackling such a complex subject, right, you're not an engineer. You don't like you'll never know exactly what you need to put in like that sort of design, right? But if you know that like other existing products have like a similar
Hey, yo.
yeah, if they have like a similar function to what you're trying to do, I'd say really like do an effort of like integrating those elements in there, right? To up that realism, to up that believability. There you go.
Yeah, I agree.
It's straight
Yeah,
up like kit
that's
bashing from images, right? Like you take
yeah, yeah.
take a I mean, you take like ambulance, cars or whatever, and just straight up slap the top part of it to a bolt. Like you just try to incorporate real life elements into your own design.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. All right. Hope that was helpful, Wen. Good luck. All right. Next up is Maddie. I'm going to post her there. She says, "Hey, I'm Maddie from New Zealand. I'm hoping to get into concept design in video games. I want to work on my perspective understanding and general process as I struggle with them. I'd love to hear any feedback or advice from you guys. Thank you. I would maybe like to work at a place like CD Projekt Red someday." Okay. So it was just concept design, I guess, just generally. So like environments, I see basically everything here. Anybody want to volunteer to go first?
I mean, she said
Yeah, sure.
she wants to learn perspective, right?
Yep.
I mean, that it's just simple answer. It would be 3D. I mean, nowadays concept artists are pretty much just like mandatory to know 3D. It's yeah. I mean, you need to be really good at like painting and photo bashing if you wanna use 3D. And it's really hard.
I'll keep going at it.
It's really hard to like go for this general concept art approach. So I would say to try to specialize, like try to decide which one you like it better, like characters or environments or props or whatever, and just maybe try to push a little bit into that direction. Because right now it's like a little bit scattered your attention. Like you got whatever these are, and you got like characters, environments, and you got too much stuff going on. Anybody want to jump?
Yeah,
okay,
I'd
sure.
say.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead, Willis.
No, go on.
I'd say, yeah, I think like in general, you have like a general idea of what you should be doing in concept art because like I kind of see, trying to integrate that process of like, sketching, trying stuff out, right? But right now, I think the biggest thing is like work on your fundamentals, because you want to show accurate things, and some of your painting just looks a little bit muddy to me. The anatomy, of the face is kind of like distracting. But like and I think you're on a good path. Just like keep working on like those skills and like learning new tools to help you reach realism or faster and quicker.
Yeah, just to jump in for a small bit here, I think like you have the idea of what you should be doing for a job, you have iterations, like you're doing the notes of what you'll be doing, but I think you're trying to do like far too much and far too wide. And you want to start to like get good at one thing particularly if that's in your interest, and you could still go wide if you really truly want to be a generalist, but I would control as much as I can for the designs themselves. So it's hard enough to portray a real life thing, like there's so much detail that goes into like a 16th century house, or that goes into like even a person of that time, and to be accurate and to have all the folds and buckles and all these things to be accurate. I would kind of control the design to just keep it more real, so you have more time and more like energy to kind of dedicate that towards getting to a better degree of finish, solving the perspective problems, painting it to a higher degree, and then you can take those and carry those skill sets over to your own designs, and you have all that strength and foundation to build up from. Lucy, you want to jump in real quick?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much a lot of same stuff I was about to say is already kind of been covered, especially with the character stuff. Like, I feel like the main distracting thing is definitely the anatomy and like the proportions you can have for, like the character. Because like I can't really think of much projects that have like these this kind of proportion in terms of like the final finish. Yeah, in terms of final finish. Like the body is fine, but like the face is definitely very distracting with like very big eyes.
Mhm.
Other than that, I feel like you can definitely do a bit more exploration. I think a lot of the exploration you did is just very samey, and it's like a very like I feel like there's not much exploration that you could have done. And like even for like the prop itself, like the prop itself, it feels like you only did one like version of it and just kind of kept it, like never really changed it. But like yeah, for characters specifically, I would just say like you're doing the stuff pretty much like everyone's kind of saying, but I would definitely focus into like one thing, whether it's doing characters, environments, or whatever. Just really dedicate more time into like actually like solving everything about it.
Mhm. Yeah, but the nice thing is I see a bunch of work here, so clearly you like what you're doing, or you're focused on the stuff, so that's good. But obviously just like try to control for as many things as possible, hit that quality benchmark first, and then you can move forward knowing that no matter what you come up with, it's got that beauty of being tempered by realism or being tempered by it looking like a finished product. And you can definitely look at some of your CD Projekt inspirations, people that work there maybe as a benchmark to kind of set yourself against. All right.
And don't hesitate to explore how to cheat. How to use 3D, how to just like trace over stuff. If you're not that good with anatomy like I am, I'll just like take a model from Daz and just draw over it. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, concept art specifically is like it's not to it's not just like pure artistic paintings, right? All the time, it's you're gonna be like in a production workflow, and finding ways to like cut your time and like explore more concepts, right, is usually the way you want to go with this.
Yep, sounds good. You want to add anything on the back end, Eddie?
Nope.
All right, sounds good. Let's keep moving. Hopefully that was helpful. Keep going. I feel like you got the spirit. Okay, this is Elio Morta. Let me put the link so you guys can read a bit ahead.
This one looks good.
Yeah, so
this is great.
they say, let me scroll up real quick, sorry about that. All right, they say, I've done this project with a general VizDev view, following the scheme of some students in an academy near me, but some months passed and I think it might not be specific enough. I would like a review to know if it's good enough to propose to both animation and game studios, and in your opinion, with these artworks, what fields do you think I should aim to work with? And maybe you know someone that could be interested in their style. That's the idea. So basically, it's VizDev view trying to apply to game or animation, and if you think that they could fit in a particular field, what one should they aim on? I mean, I think it's first off the bat, it's a lot easier to aim at a field and then do the work than the other way around.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not complaining because the work itself seems like it's of quality. Lewis, you want to lead up?
Yeah, no, this is definitely like, the presentation is really strong. The character design is really strong. It's definitely like VizDev directed. Like, I can't really say there's much in here that's like, that could be transferable to game stuff. Like, some of it is, and like, there's some overlap to a certain extent. If like a game itself is a bit more like, animated or more like stylized like this. But for the most part, this is like very, very like, like on the money for just like animation VizDev stuff. I mean, my main question would be like if they have like already like applied or like they try to get into the applying through schools or like applying for work. I feel like with the stuff that they have already, they can already kind of get some luck. I feel because like this stuff is already pretty solid. Like it's definitely way above like student level that they're trying to like emulate.
Yeah, I agree. It reminds me a lot of like how Ari Pan presents her IPs as well. Like a lot of like fleshed out stuff for like the world in general, and yeah, definitely VizDev, like Lewis said.
Yeah, it looks super solid to me too. I wouldn't. It looks like this. I remember. It makes me think of this Klaus.
Yeah,
movie.
definitely.
Really, so good.
Yeah, I think it hits smack bang in like VizDev territory, doing the necessary stuff. Alex was here last week. Alex, who works at like DreamWorks and companies like that, and I feel like he approved of a lot of portfolios like this. So I think it's just a big thumbs up and keep going. And definitely agree with Lewis, like mostly animation. Maybe seldom there'll be like stylized-ish games, but I feel like animation might be the way to go with like a VizDev position. Anything to add on, Eddie?
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't know what to say. It looks proper to me.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, good luck, man. I think you should be fine. All right. Got one by Oliver. And he says, I'm a concept artist based in Canada currently. Goal is to get some professional experience under my belt and do some cool work. Any feedbacks on notes on how to improve or what is missing, that would be greatly appreciated. All right, that link's in the chat.
Well, first off, I'd say quantity and quality is kind of missing. It's like if I go on one of the, you got like 2 projects on the whole last portfolio, I'd say take a little bit more time on polishing up the main piece, because right now it kind of looks a little bit rushed to me. It doesn't feel finished. It doesn't feel planned at all. I would say try to find. I mean, it's just kind of repeating what we said earlier, like doing thumbnails, coming up with some graphic read, coming up with some proper composition for your environments, interiors, everything. I understand it's FZD and you're just showing off the interior, like the putting in sketchfab assets and then like pretty much real life elements. Like you're not really designing that much, so I would add some projects which are purely focused on designing, coming up with some new approaches to certain environments or interiors or anything, and yeah, you should try to push a little bit further your paintings. I would say, I mean, if you already have the 3D, I assume these are from 3D, like, well, yeah, why not just go for push it a little bit into this Last of Us feeling. I mean, those are super easy already, and it feels like you're just stepping a little bit below that. Like you could be stepping on the Last of Us level with just adding photo textures, doing some breakups on the surfaces, adding doing a bit more being a bit more decisive on the light setting, because right now you got a super flat render. Like, I already know that you didn't know what kind of light situation you wanted to have in 2D because you had a super flat render. Like, maybe you should try to plan ahead with your projects and do a couple more shots too. Like, if you already have the 3D setup, why not just add some people to it, add some story to it, and definitely do more stuff. Like, you got 2 projects in there. You're gonna have to show off a little bit that you can design, you can problem solve these. Yeah.
I can quickly crit this this image. So for shots like this, right, you really need to find a way to pull your viewer in, and this is like not doing it for me. I feel like the scale is a little bit off, unless that's like a really small ship, right? This thing instantly made me think about this thing. It's artwork by Gaël Siguion, where she has like this like mass. I'll just post it in chat here.
Yeah, no problem.
She has like a massive shot of like a submarine and like people looking onto it, and like try to understand like what makes an image interesting, right? And what what is going to make me want to click on this image, look at it, and look at the process, right? So different elements like scale, different elements like, again, the camera angle, right? Also, why did you choose, even like that aspect ratio, right? A lot of these concept artists, when they're doing a shot like this, right, they go for a very wide shot because it mimics kind of like that cinematic feel, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just like little details like that, aside from like the technical stuff that Eddie just pointed out, I think it's gonna really help you as well.
But the big details too, like the whole, it's not really, if you have to decide, you either do like this design heavy painting, so you're gonna have a super well designed element. In this case, you would have a nicely designed ship, and then you kind of don't need to make it that cinematic because the design sells itself. In this case, I would try to make it a bit more cinematic. Try to hide the texture imperfections, or or all that. Like you kind of have to sell the image somehow, right? So you either sell it with design or sell it with mood. I have an example on this topic as well from this guy. Hold on.
Yeah, while you're looking at it, I think another thing that I want to add is for concept art, right? Something that I wanted to mention earlier is I need to know what the problem they're trying to solve, right? So
Yeah.
is this just supposed to be like a ship? Because if you look at the other page, James, if you go on the other, no, sorry, on his other project,
Yep.
I think I spotted like a giant squid on the wall, and if you go down to the inspiration images, there's also like images of squids, right? Like giant squids, right?
What is
So
that about?
So yeah, so like that piqued my interest, but I don't see any of that on the actual design. Like, there's nothing that informs me that like this is like. I'm assuming you're trying to do like a icebreaker squid hunting ship, right? But in the actual design, if I were to critique it, for me, there's like nothing particularly. There's nothing visually that conveys that to me, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't really know what you were trying to say with this one.
Yep. Agreed.
Just in terms of the design, you know. And
Yeah.
again, like ideas are king in concept art, and if you're able to, merge ideas together and like come up with something interesting, that's like a big part of like why you'll get hired as well. So not just execution, ideas as well.
Yes.
All right.
You could add the theme to it. You wanted to add the squids. You could have made it super clear that it's a squid hunting ship. Like you could have added some squids coming off of it or stuff like that. You know, just to make
Literally
it
like a
more-
giant dead squid.
And
Yeah,
hanging
Even, like,
around the
have, like,
foreground.
With
the-
stars.
Yeah, have like the idea is good, but I just don't see it here, right? So like even having like the tentacles, like
It looks good in my head.
yeah, in my head it also looks good. Yeah, the
Yeah,
idea is good, but
I
again,
came
like,
it up with the
are you
project, though.
able to realize on those ideas, right?
Yeah, that's it from me.
Right. Sounds good. Keep moving forward. Next up, we have this one. Yeah, if one of the other moderators are in here, like just when I'm going through, if you can click on one of these and just put it in the chat for me, that'd be great, because it saves some scrolling time. Okay, this is Valentin, says 24-year-old Venezuelan self-taught artist, want to make a living, but I've been struggling to find a way how. Mainly, I would love to be an animator someday, but for right now, I've done some character illustrations, I put some work together, hope to have an insight on what I should work on most, or which is the best way to go. Thank you in advance. Okay, not concept specific, but Louis, you want to chip in?
Yeah, no. I mean, I think it's definitely a tricky one because I mean, I'm not an illustrator and I don't really know too much what it takes to like actually get hired for illustration character stuff like this. But I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's gonna be a tricky one for me. Mm. Yeah, no,
Is
I
there
feel like I
like
don't really have enough insider knowledge for that.
is there a
go on, Tom.
specific is there a specific thing in animation that this person mentioned she wants to, because you can do a lot of stuff in animation, right? You know, there's like VizDev, you know, keyframe, you know, there's
I think they
storyboarding,
specifically
there's a lot
said
of stuff, right?
animator, as in, I'm going to assume the person that actually does the animation.
Hello?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Book covers, editorial work, possibly posters. It's very illustration-y. Just throwing that in.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
All I can really say is to just like look at the people who are in that like field that you're trying to be in, like illustrators, and see like what they're doing. Because like I feel like you have the work, you have character stuff, but I feel like for when it comes to illustration, when I think in my head, I think a lot more like finished, a lot more pushed, a lot more like dynamic. You know, these kind of stuff that I feel like could be somewhat missing in your characters because I feel like they have pretty like static poses or like they're like standing 3/4 facing like the camera, very clear, very like exact, but like I wouldn't say it's very illustration for like some of these. But I think it's just the best thing to do is probably like look at those who are in the field that you're trying to get into and like see what you can like grab from that.
Yeah, I agree. I'll try to save some of these ones that are a little bit like not necessarily in our field of expertise, and maybe we can add it on when we do have people that are can give you like more pinpointed advice. But yeah, I would just say look at the jobs that you want to get and then cater your portfolio towards that. But we can keep moving forward. This is Novter. He says, "Hi, my name is Peter, 24-year-old from Bulgaria, aiming to become an environment concept artist. Want to get towards fantasy style environments and get more experience. To get feedback, mostly I've been thinking about, I would ask what am I lacking in the most in my pieces right now, and what would be the next step to level up my work."
Right. Don't click on any of the images yet.
Yep.
First of all, I would say you're kind of lacking a little bit of as the same thing. It's like you're lacking a little bit of your own design, because the only designed, like heavily designed project here would be this VRA station thing, and that's I mean, we'll get to that, but like you're right now doing the same thing. Like interiors, you can just download all the like tables and cups and books and all that jazz from Sketchfab, and just arrange it into a nice interior. And those that kind of solves a certain problem, but whenever they want you to come up with something completely new, like they don't see if you can come up with something absolutely new, except the VR race station. And now we can go to that. With this one, I think you just went too crazy haywire with the kit bash. Like it's all over the place. You put your hands on the kit bash and you literally jammed in all the greebles and all the parts in there. Like I would say, whenever it comes to something like this, just take like couple parts and just repeat those just to keep it consistent. Like maybe take some bigger, smaller parts and medium-sized parts and design around them some sort of consistent geometry, and try to repeat that, mirror it, array it, and this way, if you kind of do it in a modular way, you get a bit more consistent design language in terms of the whole design of the interior. Right now, everything is super noisy, and you pretty much were like, okay, I got bunch of wires and shit. I'm gonna throw that everywhere. So try to be a bit more decisive about where you put details and where you don't. Try to leave a little bit of area, a little bit of some areas for the eye to rest, and try to, if you go back a little bit up in here, yeah, it doesn't really make sense to me, like this hanging shit. I would try to somehow like add maybe an engine in the middle, and maybe some supporting elements. I wouldn't fill it up with as much stuff, and it doesn't really make too much sense to me, like what it is, if I first look at it. I mean, you got some monitors and all that, but I would make it a bit more clear to the viewer, like what you're trying to design. Okay. And I also don't understand, like you have so much nice 3D base. Like why is it easier to just slap a fine edge on it and flat colors and call it a day? I don't understand this FCD approach. I mean, for design purposes it's okay. like you understand what's going on there. For display it's super nice. But whenever I would say you should do some money shots right now, because you got some nice display shots. With this FZD approach, I would do a bit more of these nicely composed images. Big, medium, small thumbnails, preparing all the jazz, and add a little bit of story. Like maybe here you could add some people smoking in the background. Just using this helmet, just to add a little bit of life to the painting.
Scene.
Yeah.
I could also chime in for like the actual design of your prop. Again, going back to like, what's the brief and what are you trying to solve here, right? So this is supposed to be like a VR thing for riding a motorcycle, but to me, nothing looks integrated. It just looks like a big giant text chandelier with like ropes going down to the motorcycle. And if you were to like just put this in like in black, right? The silhouette would not read as a VR station where you can ride a motorcycle, right? Um, I know that like there's like a component of there's like a punk component to it, so that you don't want everything to look like super clean and like mass produced. But I think you can like try to strike a fine balance, right, between something that looks kind of like cobbled together and literally something that's like just two separate elements that are just held together by like a cable and a helmet, right? Um, yeah, my big issue here is like like the motorcycle riding aspect does not feel integrated into the big VR computer aspect of it.
Mhm.
I mean, it's definitely
Yeah.
not what I read when I saw the concept.
Yeah, I agree. If I didn't read the title of the project, I wouldn't know what it's for, right? You wouldn't understand how to use it if you first look at it, and that's a big problem when it comes to visual design.
It's like, again, I'm going back to like use stuff that exists in real life, right? If you're telling me that this is a motorcycle concept, right? Yeah, I can see that you have like a motorcycle, but this is supposed to be like a VR thing. So like I would look at little like platforms that people use to like stay stationary. Like could there be like some sort of like hydraulic system that's like integrated onto the motorcycle that makes it move around, right? Instead of like having wheels. Because it just again, like I'm not sure exactly why you would have like these wheels on the motorcycle if it's yeah, it just seems a little bit too disconnected to me, those two elements right now. The actual prop.
Yeah, I agree. Let's check out the other ones too. Maybe we can say something new. I mean, think we kind of touched on everything. I mean, you don't have too much in your portfolio, but the ones you have, it's quality. Maybe you could bump it up with some money shots, just to attract attention. And yeah, without doing this find edge FZD thing.
If you're gonna be taking the time to like make a whole 3D scene, going back to like what Ede said, like why not really capitalize on that
Yeah,
and like explore a lot more shots, You can even have it as some sort of like storytelling element, right? Where you have like these characters moving through like the environment and you have like different angles of the space you're trying to show.
right. Unless the whole 3D looks good from one angle and it's completely torn apart in the other part.
Yeah, but you can cheat a little bit, right? So
Yeah, sure.
All right, we gotta keep.
I'd say
Okay, go on. Sorry.
yeah, everything's very serviceable, right? Kind of again going back to like Ede's statement about like yeah, there's like this FZD quality to it that's very yeah. You send that to like a 3D person and it works super fine, but yeah, I would work on maybe your design sensibilities for the VR race station thing specifically when I'm
Yeah.
looking at that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, just to make a small note here, guys, we're kind of approaching the 90-minute mark. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 left. You guys are good to continue? I want to just like blitz through the last few.
I'm good. I'm good to
Oh, yeah,
continue.
we can go for a bit more. Yeah.
All right, solid. Appreciate the effort. Okay, this next one says I'm a hobbyist from Chile. I'm trying to get better in comic paneling and character design. At the moment, I would say I'm into fantasy, fairy tale, umbrella, sprinkles of terror. Honest criticism appreciated, so be harsh. All right, Tom.
Damn. Oh, what do you mean? All right.
All right, go on.
I'm gonna be harsh. I'm tapping out.
Someone send the link again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll put it for you. Here you go.
It's anime theme too.
In classroom chat.
Got that.
All right. Yeah, I guess Lewis or Tom.
So I'm just looking at this stuff right now.
Work on fundies, man.
Shit.
I think yeah, just keep trying.
Yeah, you just need a bit more mileage at this point. Fundamentals, not really much else to say, I would say.
Yeah, for the character concept art stuff, I feel like it barely can qualify as character concept art because like you don't really have much actual
Yeah.
exploration, and the characters you do have, it feels like they're like almost the same. Like if you scroll down, it almost feels like it's the same like 2, 3 different characters that you have that are just kind of like done in different like I mean different styles or like different kind of like not necessarily concept art but like illustrations, and it's kind of like has like a just muddled feel to it. Like to me, this doesn't really feel too much like concept art. And
Yeah.
I would want to see like more variation, like more finished things, and more like actual like you know utility and like the actual like concept art. Whether you want to do more viz dev or game stuff, like I can't really see how someone down in the production could like utilize it to like either animate a character, make a rig, or like model a character.
Yeah,
I
it
think you
looks
have
like
like
a
the good reflexes. Again, it comes back to that idea. Like I think you have like a general idea of what concept art is, and you kind of like dabbling into it. But I think just more mileage, honestly.
Mhm.
And kudos for accepting harsh criticism. That's always good as well.
Yeah, I would just say like I said, just keep going. And it's okay to just like focus in on like particular subject matter and just really grind it. So because fundamentals are going to come with mileage anyway, but if you really want to up the quality of like particular things, like try to explore that same subject matter a little bit more, and then it'll be a fun way of like focusing on better lines or better comps or better rendering from there. But yeah, I think otherwise it's a big keep going. So keep going. Okay. Next up is
Thank you so much.
Gildem Alien, which has no description. It's just an Instagram post.
yeah. Right.
Can we get Han in here, James?
Okay, I will save you for the pinup sexy girl review. I'll drop you a follow. How about that?
60 anime
Okay.
girls review from Han and Good Boys. Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Honestly, we should make that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, I will save it, and we'll have it for the following one if I can wrangle people that do this kind of
Okay.
work. All right, just moving a little bit forward. All right, next up is Jordan. He says, "Hey there, I'm a concept art and illustrator, generalist. I'm looking for ways to improve my portfolio for a direction to head with future works. I've worked in a few mobile game studios in the past, and I recently got a job in an American VR company as a concept artist, looking to improve character and environment, concept art, and illustration. Oh, it's everybody. Currently updating my personal projects. Some posts are not complete." All right.
Yeah, I remember this guy. I like his portfolio. It's just I think first all that you have all these categories. You got way too much stuff in your portfolio. You got a bunch of strong pieces, but I would kill the weak ones because you can have a lot of bad. Well, not bad, but like not up to the
Not as good
standard.
as your best stuff.
Yeah. You could take out those just to not give the wrong impression to the guy who wants to hire you. With the environments, you could maybe you could click on there was one with art dump, not this one.
Oh, art dump.
Uh,
Oh, got it.
yeah. Like you have so much stuff going on in one post. I would separate the characters from the environments, but like I would still keep the categories, I guess. In this case, if you're generalist, it's okay. The environment stuff, yeah, they just feel like they're super fast speed paints. I would put a bit more effort into them, just with photo bashing. The photos, all of them look kind of like you just took a photo from Pinterest and slapped it in there, like super low res, little bit of sharpen on it, and call it a day. I understand that you're trying to go a little bit more stylized, but still photoreal. Like it's kind of in between there, so you didn't really decide what kind of approach you want to take with your style. So I would suggest you decide. Like I would say have projects for both extremes, like do stylize, try to do a bit more matte painty approach, bit more photo bashing, and yeah, in term you got a couple nice compositions here and there. and they sometimes feel like lucky accidents because it's just the sun looking there, and if you scroll down in the post, the rest of the shots are a bit flat. Like yeah, if you go back up, like you have a nice city view. Yeah, this one looks super nice. But then if you go down, yeah, or up on top
Wherever.
of the other one, yeah, that one just not up to the standard. It doesn't feel well constructed. It's just it's not a nice graphic read. Doesn't It doesn't read as nicely as the other one. You know, I would for instance take those out, or either rework them, have a bit more clear decision about your lighting setup, like graphic read and the big, medium, small separation between the foreground, midground elements, and the dark and the dark and light. Um, you know, you should have like 20% light or dark and 80% dark or light. So like you should have this kind of ratio like you have in the city scene. That one has a nice ratio. And yeah, but generally I would say just to plan your shots a bit out, and yeah, as we said previously, do some back and forth between 3D. Hoxton said that, and you should just, you know, see which one works better, which lighting setting. But I see you got some nice props as well, dude. You
Can you
got
click
so
on?
much stuff in your portfolio.
Yeah.
Can you click on all, James?
No problem. Yeah.
Yeah, let's look at some characters.
I think I'm gonna be talking absolute shit right now, but everything, like if you just look at how you're presenting your stuff right now, there's like just a very, very high level of like detail all the time. And it's like I feel like it's like lacking focus on like
Yeah.
interest points, right? Like I for each of the paintings that you have, like if you just look at the little thumbnail from ArtStation, I just feel like everything is like very, very busy. Personally. Uh Maybe there's also like the fact that you're pulling a lot of like 3D stuff, which is fine, right? But I feel like it would be beneficial, right, if you were to, I don't know, like adjust the colors in Photoshop because like it feels very saturated to me, and um, I just feel like it's a little bit all over the place in terms of like colors. I don't know if you guys have the same feeling, but
Yeah, the pieces and characters, whenever it's either very 3D or very 2D. The
mhm.
characters feel very 3D, like you didn't even overwork it at all. So I just try to incorporate bit photos and painting, a little bit blur.
Mhm.
They look too sharp everywhere. As
Uh,
Hoxton said, you don't know where to
if
look.
you look at like one of these posts, I feel like, for example, just like the lighting that you're using here, like you're overblowing a little bit of like the whites, you know.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of like detail that's getting lost because of like the harsh lighting from like your 3D setup. Um,
Yeah, go on,
Another
Hoxton.
thing is like I kind of feel like you have like a general idea of like what you want for this, but I'm going back to that same comment as before where you're integrating like a military vest on this like very, it's like a oriental
Arabian
ish
kind of.
Arabian,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of character, and they feel like two distinct element that are not from the same world, right? I would try to
Mhm.
take the shapes of that vest and rework it with like Photoshop or like just drawovers to keep the essence of the silhouette that you want and not have it with like these like very modern materials and like complicated shapes contrasting with like these very slow very flowy drapes and everything, right? You kind of like I feel like these are just like two elements from like a literally like a different world that are
Yeah, two different
mashed
worlds.
together but not well integrated.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. Like, that's a really good tip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and for sorry, go on.
sorry. So that's a really, really good tip. I think next time we're just relaxing on the server, I'll ask you more about that.
Yeah, no problem.
Luce, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I think the characters are like in a little tricky spot because like you definitely have like a mix between like the concept art and like the 3D thing, and I don't know if the 3D thing is supposed to be like concept arty or if the 2D stuff is meant to be like the kind of concept art you do. But I think an example is like someone like Connor Sheehan who does like the 3D characters, and I think your characters, especially the 3D ones, are like more like too much in the 3D realm, where like they kind of feel like very scrappily put. It might be like just
Yeah.
speed, like Eddie said, where like you're just kind of doing things like very quickly. I think you should definitely like slow down and try to like make things like look a bit more polished. But like Connor, like if you scroll down, James,
Yep.
scroll to
yeah,
the guy with
this
like the moon
guy.
face.
Oh, the moon face.
Go up, moon
What?
face right there, middle, purple.
Yep.
Left. Yeah. Like he would do 3D characters, and like obviously 2D concept is a lot more cheap, and obviously he would do the concept art in 2D, but he would use the 3D to like push into like more illustrative finish. So I feel like
Okay.
if you're gonna do 3D stuff, I would definitely take it to a more like closer finish, because you go down, you can see his 2D stuff is like it's the concept itself, and the 3D he utilizes to like really finish it in a more like polished way. And I feel like a lot of your 3D stuff just kind of remains in a very like weird spot where it feels not like kind of uncanny, like waxy, like
Yeah, it's
they
very
don't feel.
raw. It's very raw.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so focus on pushing the 2D rather than relying on the 3D.
Yeah. And just to
Don't be a
reiterate,
slave to your-
yeah, go on. Yeah, don't be a slave to 3D.
Yes.
Yeah, and also just be careful with the number, because there's no price for like most number of pieces in the portfolio, and like when you have really strong pieces in here and they're like just completely buried, I think you're tanking your chances of getting organically discovered by a studio looking to hire you, because it's just completely in there. So I would just heavily curate and have like maybe separate like highlights of like your work for environments, your work for characters, because some portfolios of people that are already in the industry at high levels, they don't care, they'll put whatever they do on their portfolio, but because they're always going to get jobs because they're already very linked up with studios. But if you're looking to organically get discovered in ArtStation, like they're going to click on one or two pieces, and if those are both bad ones, then goodbye, right? It's the next portfolio after that. So a bit of curation would be great.
Okay, cool. Cool. I'll ask about that sometime soon.
Hey, going. After this, we have Balaj. I'm a Budapest-based artist. I'm currently working at Neocore Games as a concept artist. I've seen the majority of the game dev pipeline, trying to improve my concept art skills. It would be great if you guys can look at your stuff, or my stuff. Thank you for the work in advance. Okay. So,
Hey guys.
hi.
yeah. No, the work is very solid, and it's kind of funny because I think you definitely have like you're doing character stuff and all that stuff, and you have like way more experience. So I would imagine you're already kind of working at a very respectable company. And I remember seeing some of your work as an actual reference to like me when I started working. So it's kind of like a reverse situation, but I think all your stuff is very solid. Yeah, no, like I mean, you're doing all the stuff. I mean, you're already doing the job. But if I were to give like any sort of like feedback or any critique, I mean, I would just say just show more of the actual work stuff. But you already kind of have a good handle on that. You're showing a lot of breakdown. You're showing like for example, this guy with the smoke on and smoke off, and like I mean, you're doing the work, but I just want to see more of it. Pretty much, that's about it.
Okay.
Yes. That was my first comment to him before he submitted that they're gonna ask that you should have more. I think he has some driveling, right? I mean, if you guys want to look at more of his stuff, can we look at it, Balaj?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna link you the drive link, Eddie, and you can show
Or
it.
can we look at it? What do you guys think?
I mean, why not? We
Like
can.
general like marketing purposes. I think for your thumbnails, you could try to have them look a little bit more sexy. Everything just feels very muted, like as a whole, right? And if you really like want to grab that attention, I think you could like. Can you go back to the thumbnails, James?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, you could like zoom in a lot of these because like, and I'm just talking about like marketing purposes on ArtStation, right? Yeah, these could be like a lot more zoomed in to like see those like the detailing that you have like in these character designs, because everything just feels kind of, again, like not super contrasty, but the actual work is great. So it's just like a matter of like making everything look a little bit more, a little bit more pizzazz in like how you're presenting stuff.
Ah, okay. Thank you so much.
Also, make sure to use the project names because I mean these are like actual projects you worked on. I think
Yeah.
including the titles for the projects will definitely help a lot instead of just including the
Ah,
pieces by
okay.
themselves.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem.
Keep going, man. It'll be fun.
Thanks.
Let's go.
Okay. But he was taking some really aggressive notes there. Okay,
What's happening?
I got it. No problem. All right, next up is Joximus. He says, I'm an aspiring environment concept artist for video games. I'm trying to improve on the entertainment value of my designs, make them feel more interesting to look at. I feel like I'm missing unique and varied props in my scenes and general points of interest.
Yeah, I think this is kind of coming down to the same umbrella as that you're throwing together Sketchfab assets and you're not really having too much design elements in your scenes. So as I said earlier, you either do it very cinematic and the mood sells the image or design. In this case, none of them are present. It's kind of a nice setup here, but like you got um two focal points on the left and the right, and on the right something's happening, on the left nothing's really happening. Like, why do I have light on the left? There's just a kitchen. There's no point. Nobody, nothing's happening in the kitchen. Maybe add like someone's cooking there or like a story to it, because I don't really understand what the story would have to be like. So it's nothing's really dragging me into the image. So in terms of like new pieces, you should maybe do something more design heavy, like some ancient towers, very classic, just to show that you know how to design new things. And yeah, like these are really good for displaying what's for production design, like what's in a certain room. But like they're not really coming up with anything drastically new. Like whenever someone's hiring you for a video game, like they want to see you come up with completely new ideas. Like you have to inspire the team, and just throwing together already existing assets is not gonna cut it. I mean, other than that, this is could be a nice composition if you kind of put something on the left too. But in this case, I don't think. I mean, this should be the main. This should be the output for the other two projects as well. Like you should do a bit more of these and try to have a bit more cinematic approach to the environment after you've done these FZD approaches. I mean, that's what I would say. Like the other two are pretty good. If you added one of these nicely composed images, I think it would be a nice addition to those as well. But maybe plan
Um,
it out a little bit more. Yeah, sorry, Hoxton, go.
no, sorry, I cut you off. I'm sorry. That first, the beauty shot of yeah, the beauty shot of the Japanese interior.
Yep.
I feel like a thing that could help is really like ask yourself what's the story you're trying to tell as
Yeah.
well. Instead of just like showing like a final shot for showing the final shot, try to give a little bit more intention behind it. Going back to like what Eddie said, there's like two focal points, but I also see like steam coming out from like the T, but like I'm not sure what you're trying to say, because like usually when you do that sort of like thing, it means like people have been there but they've left, right? But I don't see any people. So there's a lot of like little distracting details that like are making me question exactly what you're trying to say here. And I feel like if you ask yourself those questions beforehand, before like actually building up the scene, I think it would make for like a more interesting image.
Yeah. just to make it very clear, like what happened or what's about to happen. Like the guy already fought some guys, having some blood on the floor. So it's one of those elements, just to make it super clear
Yeah.
what's about to happen or what happened.
Like, why
Yeah.
would they waste good sushi like that, man? Like, Jesus.
Yeah, man.
Lewis, you want to say something?
Yeah. I mean, like pretty much what you guys are saying kind of reminds me from my previous job, because like I remember the art director telling me, like, when they made the 3D artists do art tests, they would, you know, on purposely check whether they were just putting assets together in like a set dress kind of thing to make something look good, or they were actually designing things in like in the 3D scene. Because like getting props or getting like assets and putting them together and making things look nice is like it's pretty easy to do. It's pretty straightforward. But like the actual design is like something that like it's actually valuable.
Right.
And then yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah, just focusing on like the intentfulness behind like what you're trying to portray in the scene.
Mhm.
Okay, that sounds good. Keep going, man. All right.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
one last thing is, like, for everyone who really wants to get into concept, right? Building yourself like a brief, right? If you guys know what that is literally like a list of things that you like, listing what your intentions are, right? What are you trying to say with this piece? What is the time period? What is the mood of the scene that you're trying to convey for like a character? How is this character supposed to be? All those things are basically like kind of like your rule set before going into like an actual design. Because if you don't have that, and if you didn't ask yourself those questions, again, I feel like it's kind of somebody who thinks what concept art is, and they're just gonna do the art without the problem solving. And if you don't have like a clear vision of what you're trying to show or what you're trying to problem solve, it's really hard for somebody to critique your work, because we don't know what you were trying to say, right? Yep, that's
Yeah.
it for me, James.
Yep, solid, man. I agree. Okay, next up is Shun. Says, I'm a 19-year-old aspiring illustrator. Sorry, it's not ArtStation. And visual developer working as a 2D generalist. Looking for overall skill evaluation and advice on what kind of artwork to focus on, as well as what kind of existing artwork is suitable for portfolio. Understand major part of artworks do not look suitable. Okay, that's a lot. I'm choosing a project to take on and would be happy to hear what will work best. Would an IP viz dev project on a fake game with characters and environments and enemy concepts and key shots work like this portfolio? So I guess they're asking what would be a good project to take on, or would a series of illustrations and game card like art would that be better for them? So I can read the full. I'm just like, for time, I'm just cutting out some words, but you can read the full write up if you like to.
I mean, I
that
feel like
was
those
too
are two
long.
very different things.
Yeah, so basically, I guess in general, like they're generalists, they do a lot of types of work, quality's kind of all over the place. They're wondering what kind of project would be good for them to push their skills, and what do you think maybe is stronger in the portfolio?
Hey, that's me. But you can open the main folder first, where the best artworks are listed.
Okay.
And the second folder is just like whips, materials, and something like extras. This makes more sense. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And first off, I think just like ditch the drive and just make a dummy ArtStation and just like open it up every now and again, because it's, or just any website, because it's always like a pain to go through. Okay, but yeah, so basically I think this is the current skill evaluation part of the review. So it's overall skill evaluation, I guess, and then what would they be best suited for? Either pursuing like fake game with character, environment, enemy concepts, or illustrations with more game card-like assets. Any thoughts? I guess since there are all the characters over here, Lewis, thoughts on overall skill level?
Yeah, I think the quality you have characters are definitely more towards illustrative, and not just like because they're painterly, but because the way you have it presented. Like you're not really showing the design of the characters, but like more about like moments or story. You're kind of like showing off the character. Here is like a bit more towards concept art, but it's just like a front view, and like there's not really you don't have any other like images breaking this down. It's just the character standing still. Same thing with the other guy who has like this sword. Like I'd say those are like this is pretty like I would say like this is pretty fairly in the realm of concept art. But for everything else, it's just it's just definitely more towards illustration. Skill wise, I mean, I think everything's pretty clear. Like I feel like that's definitely like something you would see like in terms of like work doing concept art like for the other two characters. For illustration, again, I'm not necessarily too sure. That's something you'd have to like see other people who do illustration. Compare yourself in that sense. But also your line art stuff, line art drawing too. I feel like that's also like a really close. Not actually, I think I might think of a different folder. The one with the knight, where it's like more side view.
Is it in the extras?
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's also like very informative in terms of concept art, but it's also slightly illustrative because like the characters pose and you can't really make out much of anything else as well.
The characters in the first folder, they were actually concept art, but they were commissioned as an illustrative artwork. I'm not really looking into concept art because I don't feel so comfortable in design. But I'm kind of trying to find a way for my current artworks and current skill to find a way with it to get into industry. So that's why my question about the project to take on, which would work best with current skill set.
I mean, if you're doing visual development, you're very much in the realm of doing design to suit. I mean, whether you want to do concept or not, you were going to have to for that job.
That would be a challenge.
I think honestly, don't reverse the positions of the horse and the cart here. Like, it's not a question of looking at your work and saying where do you want to go. It's more like what kind of job do you want to do, and actually cater your work towards that, because everything is like almost illustration, almost concept art, almost viz devy. But like, this is not really how you want to go about anything, right? You want to think about what you want to do, what's your priority, what would you like to work on, and then just make pieces purely for that intent, and therefore you can cover all the bases. Because I almost like, while I agree that this is set up in a concept way, like this is not a concept piece, right? Because it requires so much support. Like, where's the turnarounds, where's the production stuff, and so
I'm currently working on one concept in extras. It's one of the bottom one would be. It's called concept raw. That's like the most raw thing going on for the IP I was thinking about. So this is also stuff that question is suitable for including if I do like a concept list.
Yeah, that's like step one of like a concept art like piece. And
that's very
I don't know why you say that. I think these are pretty interesting, to be honest.
Okay.
I think kind of doing the stuff.
Yeah, I think you're kind of like doing it subconsciously without like really looking into what you need to do. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but like it's just like you not knowing exactly in what like way you want to go. But I feel like this feels like a prototype for somebody who wants to get into like viz dev. Because you have you have like those illustrative pieces, but you kind of dabble just a little bit in character concept as well.
I think it would be more correct way to say that I'm not confident enough in doing concept. That's why I'm not doing it most of the time.
Yeah, but the problem is that if you wait to be confident to do something, you'll just never do it. Confidence comes with experience, right? So just put that, like, if it's shit, then it's fine. You're 19 years old, you have the rest of your life to experiment other things, but like just have a little bit of like courage and like your possibility of things, and your work itself, there's some quality work in here. So you don't necessarily have to worry. Like, experimentation is what's going to birth success. It's not going to be the other way around. Like, but none of us were sure about these jobs and us working them before we got them. So go forward with that kind of intent and just like do it, just commit to it fully. And what's the worst thing that can happen? You just learn more,
So the overall skill is entry level. Like it is enough to get a sort of.
I mean, to answer that question in general, like, the question is what company, right? Like, there's no such thing as like, this is the professional standard and nobody worse than this can get in. Companies will offer or require a vast variety of requirements, right? So again, I think it's more about catering your portfolio to the job that you want, and you can always just apply, and whoever can use you at that particular skill level will take you, and whoever you need to aspire towards them in the meantime. But it's not a question of like there is like some gross level. Like, as long as your fundamentals are mostly okay, which I think they are for the most part, I think you can just pursue that and pursue it fully. Don't like get swayed by a commission work or whatever. Like, commit to it, right? If you want to do viz dev, this is my viz dev portfolio for this project. That makes it, first of all, way easier to review the work, and second of all, the way easier to know whether you want to do it or not in the first place. Because right now it's just we're hedging our bets too much and not really fully committing. So commit, even if it's very small. Just commit, and then use that as a stepping stone.
I'd also like to add something. When you say that like you're not confident in like your design capabilities, like so obviously like there's no like complete concept art design projects over here, but like I feel like you have like a really good understanding of shapes though. Like if you just look at like the dragon piece and like the
The number
yeah
4 is it is not presented as, but it is my design. The armor stuff and
yeah
the
I
mask.
feel like just in terms of shapes you have like you have like the good reflexes.
Mhm.
And I would stop worrying about the confidence part. And I guess step 2 would be to finish up the concept that you started
Mhm.
in your sketchy folder, right?
Yeah.
And just see like how far can I push this concept,
Mhm.
and again copy what the people on ArtStation are doing in terms of like what the pages that they have right are.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't think you need to worry too much about like confidence. If you want to do it, just test yourself. And I, I I don't know. I think your shapes are pretty solid, to be honest. If I'm
Okay. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, now it's just doing. Pick something that you want to do and just do it. Because I mean, you have the stuff, but it's all just mixed. It's all wishy washy right now in terms of
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
actual job you're trying to land.
Yeah, I realize the advice is very much like, oh, you're not confident, be confident, and then
Be
get a job.
confident, yeah.
I guess I guess it's like this, but I would just say pick a project, something that's really near and dear to your heart. So maybe your love of it will kind of overwhelm you and like let you push past a barrier. And just in general for your career, remember that there's so many hurdles in front of all of us in our careers. You shouldn't want to be one of them in front of your own. Like let people tell you when like no is the answer, but like remember that you don't want to be saying no to yourself too much, because like you're not doing this. There's way safer jobs out there. There's plenty of opportunities to work in other industries and fields, but you're picking this for a reason, right? So find that reason, stay in it, and like really push it, because again the raw ability is there. So hopefully that combined with your love of whatever the subject matter is, and then cater towards whatever the job you really want to get, like you really want to dream to get, that'll kind of give you your first few pieces of work. So keep the scope small, don't design huge worlds or whatever. Just start small, but do like a simple component of that final job. So like a single full character design or a single full whatever it is, might be an illustration or a VisDev piece or prop or whatever, but do it fully.
Okay.
So keep it small, and then you can use the confidence, the reviews, the positivity from that to then go to the next piece and the next piece, and before you know it, you have 10 or 15 pieces that everybody likes, or that you think is good, or people are offering you jobs for, and then that'll be like a vehicle for you to transport yourself into your future career.
Thank you. Yeah. Great.
And also
Cool.
put your stuff on ArtStation.
Yeah,
because, like,
please.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
I'm trying to. The marketing part of it is stopping me, because I kind of wanted to get seen, but it takes time.
Yeah.
String.
Perfect plans that are never executed are always worse than like improper plans that are executed right now. So you could just put it here and arrange it later on. It's fine. It's not like Riot Games is really waiting for that shouldn't post and like, oh my god, she's not posting yet. Oh, she posted it. It's shit. No, never job ever. Blacklisted, right? So just
Okay.
yeah, take a risk.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, moving on. This is the last one before the cutoff. This is Manik. He says, I'm a concept artist working in the entertainment industry. I am interested in doing environments. Looking forward to improve my visual design and world building skills this year. Any advice in general is appreciated. All right, Eddie, smack bang, I think, in your territory.
Yeah, with the first piece, I think if you are planning on painting like from scratch, if you scroll down, this was painted like from absolute scratch.
damn.
I'm not. I mean, yeah, it's like you got these painty. It's like a speed painting. This one, for instance, that I don't think it fits into your portfolio because you got some 3D stuff going on, like some proper VizDev stuff, and so I would just keep this one out. Like for instance, this next one looks super nice. It's a really good distribution. Like you got big, medium, small. You got a nice composition. I think this is a super strong piece. And you even done a nice thumbnail for it. So why not just keep this kind of just keep this as a benchmark and try to do always better whenever you post something new, because it's kind of a letdown whenever you have you have a worse piece from the previous one. So and it's nicely, you got a nice 3D render and everything photo bashed over. I mean, you got some, I would say you have to be a bit more cautious whenever you're putting in brushstrokes into your paintings, because I mean, I'm not seeing it on James's screen because it's very pixely, but if I open it on mine,
Sorry.
you are kind of painting out a bit too much of the images. Try to, I mean, you're already in the territory of doing a bit more like Naughty Dog and Romain Jandot style. I mean, it's not on that level yet, but you're moving towards that. So I would treat the images and photo bashes with a bit more care. And for instance, the tree is very heavily overpainted on the right. It's almost completely flat. So just watch out to those. For like on the left corner, like you got some nice brushstroke. Like it's not really bothering me. But if you have some super strong brush strokes which are like poking my eyes out in the next to the focal point, it's gonna be a problem, I would say. So if we go to the next one, that one looks kind of nice too. It's I would say it's not really well incorporated into the I mean the photo of the main element, like this shroom or whatever it is. It's not really incorporated into the image. Maybe the dark levels are not the same color. I would do a bit more value grouping, try to incorporate. And also the two images don't really have anything to do with each other. Like this is supposed to be a project or something, or just exploring.
Yeah, he says personal IP done for design challenges.
Right. Yeah, whenever you're photo bashing, I think you have the skills, you just don't have the right photos. I would say you should look for a bit more high-res ones. My advice is always to just take like one photo bash pack. That nowadays there's literally almost photo bash packs for almost any kind of genre and any kind of theme. So just take one pack and mostly use your bigger images for from those packs, just to keep the photo bash consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you could
Like,
probably
we
milk
have-
this 3D as well. Like you can get way more shots out of this, right? Because I feel like
Yeah.
executed very strongly, so you can just explore the theme. Kind of do like a Pablo-esque, like a few more angles, maybe tell a story. I think that kind of thing might be cool.
Yeah, I think in your question you were asking about like what makes for good world building, and I think utilizing like the right tools for that. So example, when you're when you're in concept art, there's like what they call like the blue sky phase, is how they basically start off like a project, and it's like a lot of like exploration of like what the world can be, right? And you always start like large, right? So you start with like a big landscape, and then the more the IP gets established, right, the more like the smaller the scale gets, right? And so what James just said is like using like that same shot to like show, for example, like a more wider shot, but then kind of like kind of like zooming in, for example, like on the armor detailing, stuff like that, can really inform like what the world is about, right? So like a really easy way for you, it would just like to vary your scale a little bit in terms of like what you're presenting.
Yeah, like a big jump up, I feel like, from like my portfolio, or just generally speaking, is when I realized I can make a design and the design doesn't just serve one image, but it serves multiple, because you took so much time to figure all this stuff out, and even just like the techniques you might be using to cater to the needs of this piece, like that's information you have forever in your head, right? So you can just utilize it to like tell a little bit more. And the lovely part of that is like not only are you aiding a production by showing a little bit more about what you designed, but it's just a way easier for you to do, to make multiple examples of why you're as good as you are. You know, so it's like multiple reasons why you should maybe consider doing it, and double down into it. And I do agree with Eddie's comment about like consistency. Like I think that your most recent, like this piece, is solid. I would say that like more of these 100% will net you a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, like you got this Mongolian 1200s and just you could take those 3Ds and straight up just slap it into 3D. Just screenshot, you got a nice composition, do some thumbnail, you're good to go.
Yep.
Like it's a nice addition to have like a money shot next to these designed elements, because that's what's gonna attract the people, right? Like that's what's gonna end up on the trending page if you have a nice thumbnail.
Yeah, it's similar to what Lewis said at the very beginning, right? It's like, I think it's either one problem or the other problem is like people want to do way too much like sexy stuff and then not do that much like production stuff on the side. But I guess it's fine if you want to like really vie for higher level positions and have some experience under your belt. And other people do like way too much production stuff and then they don't really have that cool money shot of what they did to then attract people that want them to do a little bit more of the package, right? Not just pure production work. So it's good to like have like this one and then a few more pieces, almost exactly what we just saw with Pablo's portfolio. The idea that you explore this piece and then you go deeper into it and then you have so much to show in terms of like what the design is and where it's going to be used and all these things. So I think it's like a lovely way of going about it.
Yeah, sounds great.
This is like a really good thing to do even in the industry, like not just like for your own marketing purposes, because you're going to be presenting this stuff to like a lot of different people, right? So all the technical stuff, of course, right? The people who are doing the 3D, they're going to like love you for it because you have exactly what they need for them to like start doing the modeling. But also if you're with your art director and you're trying to convince, you know, the higher ups to like greenlight a project, right? The sexy money shots are where it's at, right? So don't see it as like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm doing like a lot of these shots for like my own, you know, marketing purposes. Like it's going to help you as well when you're actually in the industry, because again, different pieces and different styles of pieces and artworks will basically communicate different things to different people.
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right, that's the last one. Go on, yeah?
Thanks for the time.
Yeah, no problem,
I
man.
agree with all that, and it's just a smart thing to, you know, have all of it have the same level of like in-depthness, because it's just generating more content anyway. So you don't have to keep coming up with these design solutions and enrich. It's like portfolio enrichment. It's a really good idea.
I agree. All right, so
Wake up.
it sounds like it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the soft end of the presentation, guys. So I see a lot of people that like applied right after we kind of cut it off, which was like 10 minutes before the start of this. So just in the future, so you guys know, just add yourself to the school role in like the Get Your Roles channel. That way you'll never miss this and you kind of post your work a little bit ahead of time. Since there's so many people in here, I might make an announcement soon about just like an overflow version of the session, because obviously I can't make people stay for, I think we're almost 40 minutes beyond our scheduled time to end. So I'll make a small announcement if there's going to be like an overflow where we can look at the rest of you guys' work, and I might even like add all the people that are in the overflow to that role as well, so you can be guaranteed at least somebody looking at your work. But for right now, I think we are going to wrap up just to save the brain cells of the people that are critiquing at the moment. Hawkstorm, Ede, or Lewis, do you want to just say anything to close or shill any links or anything of that sort?
I just like this little pop-up you had.
Yeah, that was virus in the computer.
Why did you redeem?
Okay. All right. Hawkstorm, got anything?
No, just like solid work, everybody, and just in general, don't hesitate to just like always ask for feedback. It's really good quality. Not being scared of the feedback as well. Literally James was like joking to me that like he wanted me to be like as harsh as possible. And if I can do that, if I can be like very harsh, I'll be here more often because I like getting on stuff.
All right, noted. Lewis, anything to close?
Also,
go on.
people were asking James. People were asking if you are going to, like, where you're going to post a link for the recordings.
I'll probably have to edit it a little bit, but I'll post it maybe in the class announcements. We can look at it later. Lewis, anything to end up with?
No, just good work, everyone. That's about it.
All right, cool. Yeah, great job, everybody. Yeah, I think a lot of today was just mostly about trying to have intent behind the designs, not remixing things too much, utilizing the designs you do make to the maximum extent, and then not forgetting about the two sides of the industry you work on, right? So there's a side of like showing exactly how powerful you are and like how beautiful your work is, but also enabling the people down the pipeline from you to be able to actually recreate it for the final game, which is like the whole point of it all, right? The production. But yeah, solid work, everybody. Hopefully everybody gleaned something from this. And yeah, I'll post a recording whenever I can. But thanks for attending.